So you can start.
Yeah.
Avtar Meher Baba ki jai.
Can you see my? Yes. Okay.
Not yet,
Uh,
not yet.
oh, okay. Avatar Meher Baba ki Jai. The seven realities: existence, love, sacrifice, renunciation, knowledge, control, and surrender. I give no importance to creed, dogma, caste, or the performance of religious ceremonies and rites, but to the understanding of the following. The only real existence is that of the one and only God, who is the self in every finite self. The only real love is the love for this infinity God, which arouses an intense longing to see, know, and become one with its truth, God. The only real sacrifice is that in which, in pursuance of this love, all things, body, mind, position, welfare, and even life itself are sacrificed. The only real renunciation is that which abandons, even in the midst of worldly duties, all selfish thoughts and desires. The only real knowledge is the knowledge that God is the inner dweller in good people and in so called bad, in saint and in so called sinner. This knowledge requires you to help all equally as circumstances demand, without expectation of reward. When compelled to take part in a dispute, to act without the slightest trace of enmity or hatred, to try to make others happy with brotherly or sisterly feeling for each one, and to harm no one in thought, word, or deed, not even those who harm you. The only real control is the discipline of the senses to abstain from indulgence in low desires, which alone ensures absolute purity of character. The only real surrender is that in which poise is undisturbed by any adverse circumstance, and the individual, amidst every kind of hardship, is resigned with perfect calm to the will of God. Avatar Meher Baba ki Jai. Mamaji, you can continue from here. Mamaji, can you hear me? Jai Baba, can you hear me?
Jai Baba, Jai Baba. You are able to hear me now?
Yes, yes.
Yes. Uh, I will open my screen. Is my screen
Yes,
visible now?
yes.
Okay, okay.
Jai
Avtar
Baba.
Meher Baba ki jai. We will continue. Uh, we have finished the chapter on Sadguru, his qualities and his work and all that. Now we will start with Nirvikalp, divinely awake. The meaning of experience is to think. Thinking occurs in the awake state, and infinite real thinking occurs in the divine awake state of Nirvikalp. To attain the divine awake state, the infinite mind should think infinitely in man. In ordinary man with gross consciousness, the infinite false self or infinite false I thinks while awake. but the thinking is limited to the gross sphere. The ordinary man ordinary man experiences the gross world environment through the gross body physical sensation. This means that while awake, consciously thinking, the physical body of the man is there and his body is what he is conscious of. In the extraordinary man, yogi, mahayogi, wali, or pir, the infinite false eye thinks of the real inner illusion while awake, that is, in a great thinking state, powerfully and directly to the inner existences, but the thinking is limited to the subtle or mental spheres. The fakir, the man without a body, or the man in the divine awake state of infinite real thinking, has attained the infinite real self established in Nirvikalpa. The fakir experiences the self through the self in fully awake state and has no body, no connection with mental, subtle, or gross bodies, which are to him like clothing. The Sadguru is the fakir, and the meaning of the fakir is that he has nothing and is nothing but God. The Sadguru has nothing, he has no body. In his wake state, he does not experience as real the mental, subtle, or gross bodies. Or does an ordinary man or yogi or wali or pir, as does an ordinary man, yogi or wali or pir. Though the Sadguru appears as man, he is wearing the human body as one would wear clothes. The Sadguru is always in the real awake state of Nirvikalpa Samadhi, and he is always thinking infinitely of the self. In the real one of the in the real of the one infinite thought, he thinks the infinite and experiences himself without any body. He experiences the formless soul or self. This fakir is infinitely conscious while in his awake state and uses his gross, subtle, and mental bodies, which are universal, to contact with others to guide them to the ultimate goal, to Godhood, the state of Shiva. The fakir cannot sleep, being eternally awake, yet while resting, he does not use his gross, subtle, or mental bodies. When the fakir takes off his clothing, bodies to rest, he is half infinitely conscious and working on a universal scale in a general way. While the awake and fully infinitely conscious, he is working on a universal scale in a chosen way. So, in a general way and in a chosen way. An ordinary man is in the state of infinite false eye. His mind is full of sanskaras, and these sanskaras keep his mind active. An ordinary man's sanskaras compel him to experience creation, to think of imagination, illusion, and to think falsely. While awake, an ordinary man has a false mind and experiences numerous limitations. But when void of sanskaras, this same person is the real mind which experiences no limit. In the non-thinking, unconscious state of sleeping, man is not conscious of his gross, subtle, or mental bodies and has no experience of the gross, subtle, and mental worlds. The Sadguru is divinely awake as infinite real mind. He is in the state of infinite conscious thinking. The Sadguru, when conscious of creation, experiences it as his infinite dream, and every being is experienced as his shadow. An ordinary man in the half conscious, half thinking state is not conscious of the physical body which is there while he is dreaming. When a person dreams, he is using his subtle body as the medium for experiencing the astral level. The astral is the world of dreams of gross conscious human beings and is experienced through the subtle body in a subsubtle state. When an ordinary person goes to sleep, his gross consciousness passes through the astral world, and if the consciousness remains there, he will dream. At times, the person will awaken immediately after dreaming and remember something of the dream, and sometimes he will enter into a deeper state of sound sleep and not remember anything that he dreamed. Occasionally, the consciousness of an ordinary person while asleep will pass through the astral world and very quickly, and he will not dream. The subsubtle experiences of dreams depend upon how quickly the person's consciousness passes to and fro through the astral world from the awake to the sound sleep state and from the deep sleep state to the awake state. When a man enters involution, becomes a real yogi, he enters the first plane of inner consciousness and experiences half of the first subtle plane. While awake, he sees the dreams that ordinary people have while they are asleep. The yogi of the first plane does not dream when he sleeps, but dreams when he is awake. The yogi is not conscious of his physical body or of the gross creation, but is conscious of his subtle body and in a subsubtle state and is consciously thinking dreams, awake in dreamland, awake in dreamland. An ordinary person has only gross samskaras, and the dreams he sees are false dreams of gross beings, gross desires, gross thoughts, nothing like the real divine dream experienced in the subtle plane of power and splendor and the mental planes of knowledge and light. In an ordinary man, the infinite false self, sanskaras, in an ordinary man, infinite false self, sanskaras are in the infinite false I mind. And to experience them grossly, subtly, and mentally, for him the gross, subtle, and mental bodies exist. But a Sadguru is sanskara less, impression less, and yet has mental, subtle, and gross bodies. The bodies are not the Sadguru's identity, they are his clothes that he wears while working. A Sadguru's gross, subtle, and mental bodies are not for experiencing gross, subtle, and mental creation, but are used for the extermination of other sanskaras. The Sadguru's three bodies have been transformed in Sahaj Samadhi into a universal state and function on an universal scale. He uses his three bodies as a medium for making other human beings experience the planes, for seekers to experience the soul, and for the spiritual salvation of humanity in general. In Sanskrit, one's fate or destiny is called prarabdha. The meaning of the Sadguru's fate and destiny is the sanskaras which he retains for his universal work on all planes and states of consciousness. Prarabdha is the term for the Sadguru's special sanskaras that make up his universal body and universal mind that he uses while he works inwardly and outwardly. These sanskaras of the master are the means of destroying sanskaras in others. They are not
Mamaji,
sanskaras in the. Okay, okay.
yeah.
I'll stop here. Ah,
If we go fast,
ah,
we are not
okay,
grasping anything.
okay.
Right?
Should I repeat?
I think we need to go a little slow.
Ah,
So that, sorry to
okay,
put you a break, but uh,
okay. That's good. Always break leads to expansion.
yeah.
Okay. Should I repeat from the beginning?
Uh,
I will start from the beginning. Okay,
yeah, let's read slowly and try to understand as much as we can,
okay.
because
You
this
can
book is in
stop me
addition to
so that we can discuss.
discuss slowly. Yeah.
Okay. Nirvikalp, divinely awake.
So what do we
The
understand from
meaning,
Nirvikalpa Samadhi?
uh, Nirvikalp, the word for me means without any shadow experience of the uh, uh, say this dual state. So they are in the reality. That's why it is
Yeah.
nirvikalpa. Vikalpa is
Nirvikalpa. Yeah.
uh,
So we experience as God state, right? In a simple
God
words.
state. Yeah.
So Nirvikalpa
And
Samadhi. So
the
the
other
people,
point is that they are divinely awake. They are not in a
uh,
sleep state.
yeah,
They are awake.
yeah. But see, this Nirvikalpa is experienced by only people who are in the body, correct?
Yes.
They experience the God, and once they leave the body, they become union with the infinite self. That is
No,
the
Mamaji, uh,
Yes.
we have the body only till nirvana. In nirvikalpa, the body is dropped. That is what is mentioned in the article by Dr. Ghani. So, in
no, no, no,
No.
no.
After they attain nirvikalp, majority will drop the body after 3 or 4 days.
Yeah.
okay,
But some like Sadguru and others retain the body and they will be in that state of nirvikalpa.
Nirvikalpa.
okay, I have to.
Yeah. Some people can stay for a long time.
Yes.
And that depends upon the, remember after 3 4 pages, you were reading Prarabdha?
Ha.
That is the Prarabdha. Some people, let's say, some people had the desire of being God, experiencing the God. And I want to experience God for a while, for 1 year, I'm just making up. Somebody has this strong desire, and let's say that becomes fruition, and probably they stay for 1 year, something like that, I'm just making
Yeah.
up. So that depends
Yeah.
upon the basically prarabdha. Prarabdha is the past nature of this person who got the
Yes.
God realization. Yeah. Yes, Mamaji. Any other question,
Okay.
Ashok? Any other thing? Or no? Where did you read that, Ashok ji?
Ah. So kiss. Okay. No, that is referred to in many places. But
Hmm.
only thing is in the usual say awakening, they remain for 3 to 4 days and then drop the body. They
Yeah.
cannot maintain that state of divinely awake state. So
Yeah.
they drop the body. Whereas those who are having those prarabdhas which maintain them for a longer time for the benefit of others, they are the mazubs, then the Sahaja Samadhi state, and then the Sadguru.
Or
So they will
even
remain
Jivan
for their
Muktas and
work actually.
Paramahamsas too, right?
Ha, okay,
Yeah. Hmm. Yeah.
okay. I'll continue from
Yeah.
here.
Mhm.
The meaning of experience is to think. Thinking occurs in the awake state, and infinite real thinking occurs in the divine awake state of Nirvikalpa. So these are the two differences. So we all think in the awake state, and the infinite real thinking occurs in the divine awake state of nirvikal. So that is in the those who are realized.
Hmm.
To attain the divine awake state, infinite mind should think infinitely in man.
Hmm.
In ordinary man with gross consciousness, the infinite false self or the infinite false I thinks while awake, but the thinking is limited to the gross sphere. The
Mamaji,
ordinary, yes, yes,
the above sentence, to attain the divine awake state, infinite mind should think infinitely in man. So there is a profound statement there. So right now, how do we feel? We are limited, right? We feel very limited. I am this body, I am this mind, that kind of a feeling. And my world is that is going whatever is going around me. But if you want to attain the divine state, we have to expand, we have to think like how the perfect masters or avatar thinks. How does the avatar and perfect master thinks when they're experiencing God state? They feel one with every entity in this world. That is the quality we need to develop. Suppose we are speaking to another person, we have to be in tune with the other person as oneness. And our attitude changes, depends upon how we think. Hey, this guy is thinking this way, but that's not correct. I know exactly how it should be. That is our usual way of dealing with another person. But whereas, if we want to expand our mind, we have to feel oneness, and with that oneness, one feeling oneness means love, right? It is the love,
yeah,
and we understand that limitedness of the other person, or
yes.
bigger if he's bigger thinking than us, then we understand that. Yeah, that is what it is.
Okay, yes.
Yeah,
To attain the divine awake state, infinite mind should think infinitely in man.
right,
In
yeah.
ordinary man with gross consciousness, the infinite false self or the infinite false I thinks while awake, but the thinking is limited to the gross sphere. So there
Mm.
is limitation for this thinking, and the limit is to the gross sphere alone.
Yeah.
The ordinary man experiences the gross world environment through the gross body, physical sensations. This means that while awake, consciously thinking, the physical body of the man is there, and his body is what he is conscious of. So, in the ordinary state of awakeness, we are conscious of only the body, and we are thinking about the environment around us, that is the gross sphere.
Mm.
In the extraordinary man, yogi, Mahayogi, Vali, or pair, the infinite false I thinks of the real inner illusion while awake, that
Awake.
is in
Mm.
a while awake, that is in a great thinking state, powerfully and directly of the inner existences, but the thinking is limited to the subtle or mental sphere.
Mental space,
So it
yeah.
goes beyond the gross, but limited to the subtle or mental sphere. And
Mm.
this inner thinking is also of the real inner illusion, not the
Mm.
reality as such. Okay.
Right, right, right. Mm.
Yes. The fakir, the man without a body, the man in the divine awake state of infinite real thinking, has attained the infinite real self established in Nirvikalp. So here, the meaning I feel of without a body is that he is not conscious of the body. He has
Mm.
a body, but he is not conscious
Oh,
of the body.
yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, the fakir, the man without a body, the man in the divine awake state of infinite real thinking, has attained the infinite real self established in Nirvikal. The fakir experiences the self through the self, that is the biggest self, through the smallest self,
Self.
in fully awake state and has no body, no
Mm.
connection with mental, subtle, or gross bodies, which are to him like clothing. So
Right.
these bodies which he is having, they are like clothing to him.
Mm.
The Sadguru is the fakir, and the meaning of the fakir is that he has nothing and nothing but God. He has nothing of this nothingness and is nothing but God. He is God.
Mm.
The Sadguru has nothing, he has no body. What we mean by nothing is he has no body in his awake state. He does not experience as real the mental, subtle, or gross bodies, as does an ordinary man or yogi or wali or peer. So
Mm.
there is
Mm.
a subtle difference between the Sadguru and the yogi, wali, or peer. They are in
Mm.
the lower levels.
Mm.
So Sadguru does not experience the body even though he has it as a clothing for him.
Mm.
Though the Sadguru appears as man, he is wearing the human body as one would wear clothes.
Mm.
The Sadguru is always in the real awake state of Nirvikalpa Samadhi, and he is always thinking infinitely of the self.
Mm.
In the reality of the one infinite thought, he thinks the infinite and experiences himself without any body. He experiences the formless soul as self.
Mm. Mm.
This fakir is infinitely conscious while in his awake state and uses his gross, subtle, and mental bodies, which are universal now, for contact with others to guide them to the infinite goal, to Godhood, the state of Shiva.
Mm.
So, for the souls like us who are in the falls, we see only the body. So, we cannot imagine universal identity without any form.
Mm.
So, for us, living Sadguru is by his body. So, he uses that body for the benefit of all the people around him who can see him, who can feel him, who can hear him, like that.
Mm.
The fakir cannot sleep, being eternally awake, yet while resting, he does not use his gross, subtle, or mental bodies. So that's why Sai Baba used to never sleep but used to take rest. So he is resting, he does not use his gross, subtle, or mental bodies. So
Mm.
at that time, he is not actually in the surrounding for any of the people around him, but he is far away. I think that is how he takes a small resting time.
Mm.
When the fakir takes
Mamaji,
off his clothes, yes,
yeah, I just wanted to add that we should consider the gratefulness because despite all uh, troubles as a human body, the avatar comes in human form only for the sake of humanity. He bears all the pain and the distress just to salvage us. So he's
yes, yes,
basically doing a lot of sacrifice. So I think, of course, that's not mentioned in his word, but in between the lines, like he takes a human form and all the travails of the human form just for our benefit and lot of
yes,
sacrifice. And similar is there when Christ was crucified or all the other avatars. So it's a similar story.
Hmm.
Jai Baba.
Yes.
Yeah. One more point is Baba used to sleep. Baba used to even snore also. Sometimes Bhau Kalchuri, when he was doing the night watchman, he used to be inside the room, sitting in a chair, and Baba used to sleep. And and I'm just wondering, because he's avatar, does the man part of the avatar sleeps and he works as an avatar? Probably, right? Because
Probably,
godless
but
people don't have. Hmm.
with the example that you gave, which is in Lord Meher, I think.
Hmm.
But there is another example when Baba seems to be sleeping. The others around him think that he is sleeping, and
Hmm.
suddenly he will become awake and remind them that he is not sleeping.
He's not sleeping. Yeah.
So that is also there. That means
Yeah.
he goes into a state where we mortals feel that he is in sleep, but he is
Yeah.
in some other world doing some other work.
Yeah. Yeah.
He was only
That
acting.
is,
Yesterday
he
Acting.
is
we
only
spoke of this
acting.
acting. Yeah.
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah.
Because he is in human body, so he need to eat. He
Yeah,
need to go to washroom. He has to take bath, shave, everything. And sleep is also
yeah,
part of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
part of that. For that gross body, not
Yeah. Yeah.
for the
Yes.
consciousness. Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Hmm.
Okay, the fakir cannot sleep, being eternally awake. Yet while resting, he does not use his gross, subtle, or mental bodies. When the fakir takes off his clothing bodies to rest, he is half infinitely conscious and working on a universal scale in a general way. While awake and fully infinitely conscious, he is working on a universal scale in a chosen way. So while he is resting, he is working on an universal scale in a general way. He is available for the whole of creation. While he is awake, fully awake, he is on a universal scale in a chosen way, maybe around his place, or as in stories of Sai Baba, he will go away and then try to help somebody who is in a crisis, and then he will call out and all that. So those around him will inquire him what you are doing at that time. He will say, I was with so and so, he is in trouble and I helped him and like that. So that is the way I see it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
You're right,
scale,
Mamaji.
yes,
Yeah,
yes,
you're right, Mamaji. Baba would go into seclusion, and that is the time he was
yes,
working for the whole creation, actually. And when he
yes.
was with his lovers in Mandli Hall, he will listen to the stories of people, troubles of people. So he'll come in that way.
Hmm.
But
Yes.
I also think Baba fingers would still keep on moving, and he was probably working simultaneously on many
Oh,
different planes
probably.
also.
Yes, yes, yes.
No,
Yes, yes,
no,
Yeah.
yes.
So
actually, we're talking about finger moving, right?
Yes.
Yurich mentioned
Yes,
once,
yes.
Baba said he's chanting Baba his own name
Mm-hmm.
by moving the fingers. That's what we used to think too. But he was doing some universal work by moving four fingers and
Yeah,
all.
yeah.
But once Yurich told in the, man, I didn't hear, but somebody else who listened to it, my one of the family member, Yurich somebody asked this question. Yurich told, it seems, that Baba was chanting his own name. I thought that's interesting.
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm.
so
Yeah, he prayed in his own picture in Andhra also, right? In
Right, right.
yeah, many times. Yeah.
Yeah.
so I have one question. So
Ah,
when they say that Baba's manifestation is there for 100 years, and so during this time also the universal work is being carried on by him, or is it by the the 5 perfect masters in human body. And
Yeah, it is
for
like
us,
this. Baba did all the work. There is some work, we read it right in the Nothing Everything. Avatar does some part of the work, most important part, when he is in the human body, and some part of the work he doesn't have to have a human body, and that's how he gets the work done. But he uses a lot of people for his work, a lot of agents, perfect masters, mazoops, fifth plane, sixth plane people, all those people, even ordinary people who love him, he uses them. His circle members, he has many people who are working for him. I hope I answered the question, right?
so that continues even now.
Yes,
Yeah.
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 But say God is universally available anytime for anyone who is the seeker. But this concept of 100 years after Baba dropped his body uh, is a bit difficult for me to clearly understand. So, what is that
But
remains
yeah,
in all that glory of the force available for 100 years, and later on it comes down or gradually, say,
yeah,
it's not available so forcefully?
Dissipates, yeah. Mm.
yeah. Mamaji, yesterday we read about the stick concept,
Uh-huh.
So I
Yes,
think during this 100 years, he is just still using his stick, using his lovers,
yes,
his agents,
yes,
the
yes.
enlightened souls to maneuver the world. And after
Uh-huh.
that, he will leave it to the Sadgurus and the
Wow.
universal laws of nature or divine laws of creation to take care of the humanity. That's what I
Right.
think, actually.
Yeah,
He is kind of directly involved for these 100
Yes,
years. And he
yeah.
has done the planning
yes,
during his seclusion, what is going to happen. And he's still maneuvering from a different level.
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah,
So
that's
he
what I
is
think.
directly available now, but later on by
Yes.
delegation from the
Yeah,
Yeah.
Sadgurus. Yes.
yes,
I
yes.
I just
You
want
will
to
be
add one
very,
more.
very much back in the procession. The
Yes.
Iraj has given. Yeah,
Just
not
want
in
to
the
add one
front.
more point to the Sanjay's. That's a very good explanation. So, what is the reason why Avatar comes? If we ask ourselves, is the progress of the universe is stagnated, right? That is why the perfect masters call him, and he has to come and take up the human form, and he does the avataric work. So, what is that avataric work he does? Whatever is stagnated, he puts back into speedy process so that the trend becomes normal.
Yes.
The universe has to proceed in a certain way, certain normal way. That was that was not happening at one time. That is why he had to come and give a push to the whole universe, to all the jivas, so that we all come back into the normal path. So he gives his power and releases this power, and it's so powerful. Whoever taps it in this first 100 years, they take advantage of that. So
Yes.
if we in a normal course, I mean, after 100 years, what happens? It doesn't mean it's going to go down. Things go in a normal way. But again, because of our stupidity or selfishness, we again create so many sanskaras that hurdles our progress again. And again, avatar comes. That is the process it goes. But what happens in this 100 years is, by little effort, we can tap the spiritual energy.
Yes,
That is
I
the
have 2 points to add to what you have told.
yeah.
The one is in the 100 years, those souls which have, say, taken the path, they will be helped to go ahead faster.
Mm.
So that is
Exactly.
one aspect. So even though we don't have Baba in front of us in all his glory of the body, but
Mm.
his force is available to make us go ahead in the path. So
Yeah.
he identifies the souls which are gravitating towards him and then helps them go ahead in a faster pace.
Yeah.
That is one aspect. The other one is regarding the avatar. One more point which comes to my mind is that as the duality continues beyond this 100 years, next 700 or 1400 years, because of this complexity of the duality and our identification with body and then the creation, new things keep happening, and the
Mm.
whole consciousness or the say false consciousness of the gross human and the creation, they take newer and newer ways of living. So if you see the historically, so the different religions and the different avatars which came up, they had to face different types of say souls at each level. So what Krishna did was good for that age, and the
Mm.
core crux remains the same. What Jesus did is for good for that age and that say circumstance, and what
Mm.
Allah did is for this is similar to that. So only thing is the core concept of the spirituality remains the same, but the way the dual world exists at each span of life will be different. So we
Mm.
are in, so we are able to understand spirituality, feel it, and then live that to a small extent because of Baba's concepts, which are so clear to us. So even though we might have read so many things in different, say, religious scriptures or texts or concepts, so he is making it to gel into a single entity for us to experience that singular path in spirituality. But this may not remain so for next 700 years or 800, when the whole universe or the say living structure changes so fast. We have seen what has happened in the last say 50, 60 years in our own life.
Mm.
So many changes keep happening, and like that, and then the new avatar will come for that age to create proper awareness in the spiritual path. That's how I look at the
Correct. Correct.
Yeah.
emergence of avatars.
Yeah.
Perfectly.
Yeah.
Otherwise,
Perfect. So
yes,
we may
because
say,
some people may say if God is so powerful, why doesn't he make everyone God at one point and then let this move ahead? But that's
yeah,
not the thing. We have
Yeah.
to make our effort and then go ahead.
That's. Mm.
right, right. Basically, over the ages, the as we may call it, maybe a term that I'm kind of coining is the spiritual profiling of the creation changes over the years.
Yes, yes.
Mm.
You
Oh,
know,
yes.
see, yeah. So based on that, the message is customized because
Yes.
the language Baba has used and the
Yeah.
messages and videos being available and everything. Yes.
Yeah.
So the spiritual profiling is changed, and after 700 years, the spiritual profiling of the humanity will be very different. In times of
Different.
Allah, it was so crude. Actually, most people were not educated; they didn't know. They
Ah,
had to be guided. They very very basic things had to be told to them,
yes.
and so which is no more needed currently. So now Baba
Yes.
in this avatar, Baba has talked more of love for God and living a simple life and truthful life and these kind of messages. But at times
Yes.
of Muhammad, probably even how to live your basic lives and conduct yourself in the world was also to be told by avatar. Next
Mm.
time it could be something. I don't
Yes.
know
Yes. Yes.
what would be there. Yeah, Jai Baba.
So that is the probable need for avatars coming down now and then, so that keep the pace of this movement, spiritual movement, to go ahead, so that many souls can say reach the state of awakening and then go ahead and join him.
Ashok ji, have you been listening? We have been talking.
Yeah, yeah. I'm listening silently, and I would say that
Okay.
it's very apt it's very aptly, summarized. So, another way of putting it is that the appropriateness and relevance of the universal work, which is relevant and appropriate for that particular era.
Yes, yes,
Also, another way of thinking is that, I mean, era or age or whatever, yuga, whatever you call it.
yes,
But
yes.
so it's, and so actually we should be grateful that yes, we are having this body of knowledge, but implementing it, we'll have to really make hard efforts.
Hmm.
Yes, yes.
It's really beautiful, although it is a repetition of what we have read in God Speaks and Listen Humanity, but it re-emphasizes
Re-emphasizes
all our.
and also it gives a newer input or a different way of thinking process of the
Hmm.
same core concept.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
different angle and overall
Yes,
picture is increasing with this.
yes, yes.
okay, I'll continue.
Yeah.
An ordinary man is in the state of infinite false I. His mind is full of sanskaras, and these sanskaras keep his mind active. An ordinary man's sanskaras compel him to experience creation, to think of imagination, that is illusion, and to think falsely. While awake, an ordinary man has a false mind and experiences numerous limitations, but when void of sanskaras, this same person is the real mind which experiences no limit. So this is the important aspect. So the ordinary man has to get rid of his sanskaras so that he will become the real man itself. So what is limiting is only the sanskaras by way of desires and all the accumulations, impressions and all that. In the non-thinking, unconscious state of sleeping, man is not conscious of his gross, subtle, or mental bodies and has no experience of the gross, subtle, and mental worlds. The Sadguru is divinely awake as infinite real mind. He is in the state of infinite conscious thinking. The Sadguru, when conscious of creation, experiences it as his infinite dream, and every being is experienced as his shadow. So this is the crux of it. Sadguru always thinks of the creation as infinite dream and experiences everyone or every being as his shadow, his own shadow. An ordinary man in the half conscious, half thinking state is not conscious of the physical body, which is there while he is dreaming. So while we are dreaming, we have the body sleeping or on the bed, but we don't feel it. We always see a different world and different forms in the dream, and we also take a form in the dream. But the actual physical body, we don't feel. When a person dreams, he is using his subtle body as the medium for experiencing the astral level. The astral is the world of dreams of gross conscious human beings and is experienced through the subtle body in a sub-subtle state. When an ordinary person goes to sleep, his gross consciousness passes through the astral world, and if the consciousness remains there, he will dream. At times, the person will awaken immediately after dreaming and remember something of the dream. And sometimes he will enter into a deep state of sound sleep and not remember anything that he dreamed. Occasionally, the consciousness of an ordinary person while asleep will pass through the astral world very quickly and he will not dream. So those blessed souls who go to sleep and deep sleep immediately. But there are a few or many who take a little bit of time and then gradually pass off from the gross to the astral and then to the deep sleep. The subtle experience of dreams depend upon how quickly the person's consciousness passes to and fro through the astral world, from the awake to the sound sleep state, and from the deep sleep state to the awake state. Okay. So if your movement from the, say, awake to the sleep state is slow, you will have dreams. And similarly, if your awakening from the deep sleep is also slow, you will awake with small dreams and then to full awakeness.
Yeah.
That is what the stanza says. When a man enters involution, becomes a real yogi, he enters the first plane of inner consciousness and experiences half of the first subtle plane. While awake, he sees the dreams that ordinary people have while they are asleep. Okay, the yogi in his awake state dreams. When a man enters involution, he enters the first plane of inner consciousness and experiences half of the first subtle plane. This particular person who is in involution, while awake, he sees the dreams that ordinary people have while they are asleep. So the real world around him or the false world around him is in his dream. So he is not fully conscious of the gross sphere. So he is away from that. That's why the monks do not feel what is around them, but they are in their own world. That is what is mentioned here. While awake, he sees dreams that ordinary people have while they are asleep. Okay. The yogi of the first plane does not dream when he sleeps, but dreams when he is awake. This is the crux of the matter. The yogi of the first plane does not dream when he is sleeps, but dreams when he is awake. The yogi is not conscious of his physical body or the gross creation, but is conscious of the subtle body in a sub-subtle state and is consciously thinking dreams, awake in dreamland. An ordinary person has only gross sanskaras, and the dreams he sees are false dreams of gross beings, gross desire, gross thoughts, nothing like the real divine dream experienced in the subtle plane of power and splendor and the mental planes of knowledge and light. So this puts another aspect to the dream of a, say, yogi. So the dream is not like the dream of the gross people who are still to awake. Their dream is always of the gross beings, gross desires, gross thoughts, nothing like real divine dream experienced in these subtle planes of power and splendor and the mental planes of knowledge and light. So as we go ahead in, say, the involution planes, so what dreams that the yogis feel is totally different from the dreams that normal human beings are having right now. In an ordinary man, infinite false self, sanskaras are in the infinite false I mind. and to experience them grossly, subtly, and mentally. For him, the gross, subtle, and mental bodies exist. But a Sadguru is sanskara-less, impression-less, and yet he has mental, subtle, and gross bodies. The bodies that are not the Sadguru's identity, they are his clothes that he wears while working. The Sadguru's gross, subtle, and mental bodies are not for experiencing gross, subtle, and mental creation, but are used for the extermination of others' sanskaras. The Sadguru's three bodies have been transformed in Sahata Samadhi into a universal state and function on an universal scale. He uses his three bodies as a medium for making other human beings experience the planes, for seekers to experience the soul, and for spiritual salvation of humanity in general. Okay, I'll stop here. If there is any requirement, we can discuss. Yes? Okay, if things are clear, we will move further. In Sanskrit, one's fate or destiny is called prarabdha. Fate or destiny is called prarabdha. The meaning of the Sadguru's fate and destiny is the sanskaras which he retains for his universal work on all planes and states of consciousness. Prarabdha is the term for the Sadguru's special sanskaras that make up his universal body and universal mind that he uses while he works inwardly and outwardly. These sanskaras of the master are the means of destroying sanskaras in others. They are not sanskaras in the sense of gross, subtle, or mental impressions. Prarabdha is the correct term since it is his fate to destroy sanskaras in others. So normally
We may call it tools. We may call it tools actually.
Yes.
He has to have them to help others. So those are the Prarabdha sanskaras.
Yeah. And they have yoga sanskaras, right?
Yes. Yoga samskaras. Yes. They are not sanskaras in the sense of gross, subtle, or mental impressions. Prarabdha is the correct term since it is the fate to destroy sanskaras in others. So it is a tool to destroy sanskaras in others. Okay. Through his prarabdha, the Sadguru does universal work which produces universal good. This is the meaning of Sadguru's fate and destiny. In the Masub or Brahmi Booth, there are no sanskaras of work or prarabdha because it is not his fate or destiny to work. It's quite clear. So they don't have a universal work to do. The Brahmi Booth is bodiless.
Not only that, they are not connected with the real world. Not real world, I'm sorry.
Yes.
Our world. They're always living in the divinity.
The Brahmi Booth is bodiless. He has no bodies, meaning he is not conscious of his gross, subtle, or mental bodies, and therefore not conscious of the three worlds. Okay. So invariably, somebody who wants to do the work, he has to work in the field. So he has to be conscious of the creation. That's why Sadguru has both the consciousness. For his universal work, he carries the consciousness of the false world also. The Brahmi Bhut does not exert his godhood to break down the limits in the minds of others, meaning he does not destroy sanskaras or give realization to anyone. The awake state of the Brahmi Bhut is a bodiless state though he is alive and seemingly awake, he is dead, a divine ghost, sound asleep to creation. Sound asleep to creation. The non-utilization of gross, subtle, and mental bodies for their purpose of experiencing the three worlds is the state of Avatar, Sadguru, Jivan Mukta, Paramahamsa, and Brahmi Bhoot always. So this is the statement which I will read once again. The non-utilization of gross, subtle, and mental bodies for their purposes of experiencing the three worlds, as we all do, is the state of the Avatar, Sadguru, Jivan Mukta, Paramahamsa, and Brahmi Bhoot always. So the reason for Baba to have a body is not to experience as we all do, but to do is universal work.
Yeah, only universal work. But he appears
Yes.
as though he is enjoying.
Yes,
I like this
yes,
food. I don't like that. All that stuff
yes,
is there.
all that. Non-utilization means that God-realized human beings are always detached from their gross, subtle, and mental bodies, even when the masters are using them for purposes of inner or outer work. The avatar and Sadgurus exist in bodiless state, formless state of nirvikalpa samadhi, yet utilize their gross, subtle, and mental bodies, transformed into a universal state of sahaja samadhi, for universal work in every state of consciousness. Okay. The avatar and Sadgurus exist in the bodiless state, formless state of nirvikalpa samadhi, yet utilize their gross, subtle, and mental bodies, transformed into a universal state in sahaja samadhi, for universal work in every state of consciousness. Okay. The avatar and Sadgurus do two types of work, subtle work and gross work. Two types of work, one is subtle, the other one is gross. Gross work is the outer work which affects the whole creation and is visible contact. Whole creation and is visible contact. Subtle work is the inner work on the planes and is invisible inner contact. So what Baba used to do in seclusion is the invisible inner contact, and what Baba used to do with the Mandli and other say devotees around him was the visible contact, whole work in the creation and visible contact. The Sadguru works for the universe in a general way, and for his circle, the 12 plus 2, in a chosen way. So he has two different ways of working. One is the universal in a general way, and for the circle in a chosen way. This means the Sadguru does inner and outer work for humanity and all creatures in a general manner, but does inner work with his circle in a chosen manner. This inner work for the circle members is inevitable realization. The inner work for the circle members is inevitable realization, that is giving them or helping them in realization. The avatar works for the universe in a chosen way and for his circle of 120 plus 2 in a special way. Okay, avatar's work is slightly different here. The avatar works for the universe in a chosen way and for his circle of 120 plus 2 in a special way. This means the avatar does inner and outer work for each individual human and creature in a chosen manner, that is a specific push in each one's consciousness.
See, one
The
point,
avatar,
Maji, here, Avatar Avatar Circle does great work. Baba does lot of work through them.
Yes.
And for example, Vidyavati, who used to come into our group, did anybody read this book, her book?
Not fully, but here and there I just read.
Yeah, it's a good book. Read almost till
Ah,
the end. Still, the end is there.
okay. That is
And
a new book you are referring to, is it?
right, right, right.
Yes.
She
Okay.
experiences the God realization now.
Hmm.
She states that she experienced God realization, and Baba wants her to disclose to the public. So she writes this book about her experiences of God realization. And that makes me think Baba gave another example. See, Baba, Muhammad, Mast Muhammad, some of you might have seen him. Baba put him in Mehrabad for several years for us
Ah.
to note that he was in the fifth plane. So,
Mhm.
how does a fifth plane must looks? We know, right? By
Yes.
looking at Mast Muhammad, because outside, if we look somebody who is crazy, because we have lack of knowledge to understand what is their spiritual status, we think they are crazy because that's how our mind
Mhm.
is. But we hear Baba with Muhammad, Baba told very clearly he is in the fifth plane. So we know. And I think Baba also gave through Dr. Neelu, now she is Vidyavati, the God realization. Because Baba is very specific about in tiffin lectures, Baba is very specific that he gives God realization to some circle members, but he puts a veil on them
Hmm.
and brings them back as human beings, because through human nature they have to do the universal work. Baba has to do the universal work. Once their part is over, they get the union with the God. Mukti, they get the mukti. So that's what I feel.
Oh.
So, Jay Baba, so the name of the book is Joy of Creation, but in my
No,
last
joy of
conversation with
God
Vidyavati,
realization.
the
Joy of
joy of
God.
God realization. Okay, okay, yeah. And when I had a last conversation with her somewhere in September or October 2021, she mentioned that she will get God realized in this particular uh, birth
Lifetime.
of hers, lifetime.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
Yes.
and obviously she is doing a lot of you know eye opening work for us to who are just to understand the nitty gritty of God realization. Yes.
Yeah. Maybe we do not know exactly what Baba wants her to do, what her role is. But the fact that she remembers her previous life and the fact that she was a circle member, we understand a little bit.
Yes.
Yeah. Jay
So
Baba.
there is a part of the 100 years work also, I think.
Mm.
He has created or left people like this so that
Mm.
they will try to keep the group going, and then
Mm.
spiritual awakening process is kept alive.
Mm. She is the one who brought me to this group, actually.
Uh-huh.
Yes, Mama, it is inspirational. It's inspirational
Yes,
and
yes,
divine.
yes. Yes. Okay, I will read.
Yeah.
Sadhguru works for the universe in a general way and his circle of 12 plus 2 in a chosen way. This means Sadhguru does inner and outer work for humanity and all creatures in a general manner, but does inner work with his circle in a chosen manner. The inner work for the circle members is inevitable realization. The avatar works for the universe in a chosen way and for his circle of 120 plus 2 in a special way. This means the avatar does inner and outer work for each individual human and creature in a chosen manner, that is a specific push in each one's consciousness. The avatar does inner work with his circle in a special manner, and that special work is each member's inevitable realization. Okay. So, avatars, the avatar works for the universe in a chosen way and for his circle of 120 plus 2 in a special way. And this means the avatar does inner work and outer work for each individual, human and creature in a chosen manner, that is a specific push in each one's consciousness. So Baba is working in each one of our consciousness to give us a push. So we should be aware of this always. The avatar does inner work for his inner circle in a special manner, and that is special work is each member's inevitable realization, because they have reached some level in the involution process, and he pushes them further for realization. That's how I look at this. Any inputs on this?
Yes, no, Mamaji, you have already summarized it very well. But I think the term or the phrase "different strokes for different folks,"
Yes.
which we have used a couple of times, is relevant here.
Yes, yes. And that is the other way it is put up here is a specific push in each one's consciousness. So he works in each one of us in a way that we should be able to gravitate towards him. So each one needs a
Correct.
different push.
Correct.
So he
Correct.
does
Correct.
that for each individual. That's how we have to look at it.
Correct.
Okay, we have completed this chapter and then we'll be going to the next one. With
Thanks, Mamaji, for
consciousness,
going a little slow. No, so that
yes,
we could grasp what was in there.
yes, yes. I thought somebody will stop me, but I went on a monologue. Okay. With consciousness, be like a stone. This is a great statement. With consciousness, be like a stone. Stone has no desire, no hope, no feeling, no distinct body, and no thought for the next day. If you hammer it or kick it, a stone does not feel. If you garland a stone, as in the worship of stone idols, the stone remains unaffected. If you keep it in the toilet or make a toilet out of stone, it is not miserable. If you have a stone in the walls of a palace or a precious stone on your finger, it is not pleased. Under all conditions, the stone remains unmoved. It is moved by nothing, unimpressed by anything.
So does it mean that we have to become stones?
Yes, that is what is the statement here.
Yeah.
But with consciousness.
Yeah.
Be like a stone, but with consciousness. That we'll have to learn.
Yeah. Baba used to say, be like stone, like a dust under my feet. These two examples. Yeah.
But as you use a stone, you reap the result and are affected. If you kick it, your foot will hurt. If you hammer and split it into pieces, does it cry out? But if a stone falls on your foot, you will cry out. If you build a palace or a bathroom of stone, either way it will be useful for you, useful to you. Yet it knows not the difference between a palace or a bathroom. How you use stone determines how you will be affected. People fight and kill
Yes.
for this stone. How you
Yeah,
use stone
on a
determines
practical
how.
level, sorry, Mamaji,
Yes,
practical level is that we have to become immune to the uh, comfort and the discomforts of the world.
yes,
Like in office, if you are given a cabin, be happy. If you are given a outside, sitting outside in a cubicle, that's also fine. Flying on a
yes,
plane is also okay, and going in a normal non-air conditioned bus in the dusty roads of India, that's also fine. So that is what is actually on a practical way we have to tune ourselves to. Living in a
yes,
five-star hotel on an ordinary lodge, both should be,
yes,
we should be more comfortable and easy with, not feeling proud or not
yes.
feeling depressed in any of these situations. So that's what is actually being like stone like in our life is what is needed.
Yeah.
Yes,
See,
that is what is known
Yeah,
as
yes.
equipoise.
Equipoise.
Yes,
few
Yeah.
points. In Sanskrit, there is a great saying, Yada drusti tada sristi. Wherever you focus on, that is how you create yourself, right? Uh,
yes,
so, for example, what Sanjay said, if you're staying in a five-star hotel or if you're staying in sleeping on a outside,
Yeah, railway
it all
station.
depends upon it all depends upon your view. Are you comfortable in five-star or are you comfortable outside, sitting outside? It's
or both
all
places.
how you focus on.
That is, yes, yes.
Yeah.
If you build a palace or a bathroom of stone, either way it will be useful to you. Yet it knows not the difference between a palace or bathroom. The stone does not know the difference between a
Difference. Yeah.
palace or a bathroom. Yes.
Mhm.
How you use the stone determines how you will be affected.
Mm.
People fight and kill for this stone
Mm.
and claim that some stone has supreme value, but by laudation or bloodstone remains unmoved.
Mm.
Okay. Stone itself enjoys nothing, suffers nothing, and remains unaffected under all conditions. So you can even juxtapose soul to stone. Similarly, if a person becomes like a stone, but with
Mm.
full human consciousness, he achieves the consciousness of God. So be like a stone, but with full consciousness.
With consciousness. Yeah. With
Yes,
the yeah,
yes,
love
yes, yes, yes. That is
incorporate.
what the title also says. With consciousness, be like a stone. And also, we can take it further and say this is being like a witness. So don't get involved, don't get attached. Be like a witness. That is a usual statement in all the spiritual, say, literature. So
Mm.
that is like, so don't get affected, but be conscious of everything around you.
Mm.
So it is not being in a state of unconsciousness that we always do while sleeping, but being awake, be conscious of everything, but do not get in any way influenced by what is around you.
Mm. Yeah.
Infinite mind in stone form experiences creation most finitely, meaning practically as nil,
Mm.
because stone's illusory consciousness is almost nil. In the state of a Sadguru, infinite mind also experiences creation most finitely as zero or nil. Okay, this is the difference. So one is totally conscious and experiences nilness. But infinite mind cannot experience itself in the form of stone, whereas in the state of a Sadguru, infinite mind fully experiences itself, meaning a Sadguru has conscious, infinite, real mind. Conscious, infinite, real mind. In stone form, experience of the infinite mind is most finite, and infinite mind experiences itself most limitedly in latency. Infinite mind experiences the universe most finitely through the stone form, as the consciousness of the stone is most limited. Yes, because the consciousness is so limited, it experiences only that much. In ordinary man, infinite mind has limited experience of itself, that is the bigger self, and unlimited experience of the universe. So that is the reverse. We have unlimited experience of the universe, but we have very limited experience of the self. However, in the state of a Sadguru, the infinite mind has perfect experience of its own self, that is the big self, as infinite mind itself, and experiences the creation in the most finite way. So it experiences the creation in a most finite way, in a small way, or not giving importance to that. This means a Sadguru experiences the universe as most finite in comparison to the self, and his experience of the universe is as his shadow. By observing one's own shadow, one may visualize this experience. Shadow has the most finite experience compared to man himself. It is lifeless, substanceless, and nothing without the man. This is the most important thing. By observing one's own shadow, one may visualize this experience. Shadow has the most finite experience compared to man himself. It is lifeless, substanceless, and nothing without the man. So only with man you have the value or the existence of the shadow. And one more example which comes to my mind is to say, when we are in front of sun in the early morning, our shadow is so long and taking a long space in the say ground. So at the peak of sun in the say mid afternoon, our shadow is almost non-visible. It is just below us. It is so small, and it may not be almost visible also. So the glory of say God realization is the removal of this shadow, and then live as a man. That's how I look at this shadow experience. So
Yeah,
so even in
beautiful.
the yeah, that is how we have to so look at this, I think. So we see
Jai
this
Baba
whole
Mamaji,
world as the yes,
I just
yes, Ashok, go ahead.
sorry for interrupting. I didn't realize you were talking something. I just wanted to read one paragraph from Listen Humanity, page 121, which is relevant when it says that the the human being has got limited experience somewhere and experiences the creation in the most finite way.
Yeah.
The line which says experiences the creation in the most finite way. So I think this is something which I found very profound. Can I just share it with the group?
Sure, go ahead.
So it says sleep does confer positive benefit due to the fact that the separate I consciousness is in complete abeyance during deep sleep. The individual soul is in action is in actual union with the infinite self. When sleep is dreamless, the individual soul is resting in the undisturbed tranquility of the most original beyond state of God. But inasmuch as sleep is a submergence of consciousness into oblivion, it does not bestow upon the soul the conscious realization of the truth that the soul will eventually experience when consciousness is freed of all impressions, good as well as bad. So, in the deep sleep, it's we are again, you know, getting into the most original beyond the
Yes,
state of God,
God
but
state.
we are not conscious of it. Yeah, of God's state, and but we are not conscious of it there in our in our gross body and gross sphere. So it can be called as
Yeah.
a sort of a dream within a dream, or it's another state where you are getting a glimpse of God realization, but you are not aware of it.
Yes, yes. So
Whichever, whichever.
Yeah.
you are God itself while you are deep sleep, but you are not aware of it. That is the folly of it.
Yeah,
So
that
if
is what
Yeah.
I.
you can achieve that state while you are awake, that is the realization state. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mamaji, you were talking of the
ah,
sun.
yes,
Last week, second, third, and fourth, I was in Ahmednagar. Fourth being
mm.
my birthday, so I celebrated my birthday with Baba.
Yes, we
And
saw all your
Karthik,
photographs and all.
Karthik
Yeah.
also joined there. It was a good
Ah,
3 day with him. So I was reading Irith's book, which was there in the MPR library. There was
ah,
a discussion with Baba and Irith, and Baba asked him, "What is the time that the people like the sun the most?
ah.
During morning, noon or evening." Then Irith replied that most of the people like the sun when it is in the sunset. That's the most beautiful.
Sunset. Yes, yes.
So Baba said, but I am the sun in the middle of the day, so I am shining. So that's what most
Yes,
people get to know of me only when I am setting down.
yeah.
And you were just discussing there is no shadow when the sun is at the top of our head. So when
Ah,
Baba is there and we are directly exposed to him, the people who are directly exposed to him, there was a very little shadow.
yes.
And the whole humanity gets to know of him only when he's about to go.
Yeah.
So that's
Yes,
just a
yes.
very beautiful simile. And when you're talking of the sun and the shadow, I just
Yes, yes.
reminded of that story. Yeah.
What book is
No,
that?
I read
How,
that story where
Uh,
the
yeah.
group you had put it up. So
that's
while
how.
Yeah.
reading, this thought came to my mind.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
So
That's
what
how
he
it
is
was.
saying, why he is saying that I am the sun in all glory in the afternoon,
Yes.
uh,
Yes. Yes.
then this idea came to me. So the shadow is the least at that point.
Yes. 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 The book name is That's How It Was.
Hmm.
It's like
Ah,
about
Yeah, yeah,
250 pages book. Yeah.
yeah. I
Yeah.
read that.
mm,
Yeah, long
Yeah.
time ago. To read again.
Yeah.
Beautiful book. Yeah.
how far we have to go? I think we need to stop here. I think
Yeah.
so. We'll continue next week. So I will mark here.
Okay.
Where did we go? Okay.
Thanks, Mamaji.
Ultimate. Okay.
Yeah, Baba.
Thanks,
Thanks
Mamaji.
the whole group
Jai Baba.
for our experience of reading this.
How come the people are coming down in attendance?
I don't know what is the reason for the Singapore group. They may be having some issues
They went to
uh,
India?
with the family or business or
I
something
think
like that. I don't
Nomita,
know.
I think, is in London with her son. I think Nomita is in London.
No. Yeah. She was going to be in London, and from there she's going to US.
Okay.
And then from there she's going back to Singapore directly, and Sunil is traveling with his mother to Singapore. That
Right.
was the plan
Okay.
which Karthik shared with me. So that's how they are kind of tied up. Yeah.
Kama is touring in US, I think.
US.
Okay.
Yes.
When
He's a
when is
cowboy.
Kama back?
He was last seen as a cowboy in
Texas.
Texas.
Mexico.
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 No,
Yeah,
we can
yeah.
always send him a message. And Nomita is coming back to Singapore on 18th. Is what I
Yeah, yeah.
learned from her.
Yes, yes.
And she will take
Okay.
and she has promised to take us through a meditation round. I have requested her for a round. Is it okay with all the group members? Because we
Yeah.
wanted to go into
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
a break, and not a break, something, one of the tools which we have.
Yes, yes. I
And
thought you were
and
about to say
invigorate.
that she is going to call us to Singapore. But you said
we-
meditation.
Okay.
let's we can do that. So let's all meet
Yeah,
at
yeah.
once in Mehrabad.
In fact, Karthik is in Singapore currently. Yeah,
Oh, he is in
Oh.
Singapore? Oh,
yeah. He went for work. Yeah. Yeah, Baba.
wow. Oh, I love that Singapore. Great place. Beautiful place.
Yeah.
All right. See you all next
All
week.
right. Jai Baba. Jai Baba.
Avtar
Jai
Meher
Baba.
Baba
Meher
ki
Baba
jai.
ki jai. Jai Baba.
Jai.
Avtar Meher Baba
Jai
ki
Baba
jai.
Jai.
Baba ki jai.
Avtar Meher Baba
Meher
ki
Baba
jai.
ki jai.
Jai
Jai.
Baba.